Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing Efficiency with Dovetail HR Copilot, Employee and Manager and HR Perspectives. I'm Kane Frisbee, Chief Customer Champion here at Dovetail Software, and today I'll be your host for this session. Thank you all for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we're excited to show you how Dovetail HR Copilot can help streamline your operations and create a more efficient, responsive environment for your teams. Now, for those of you who may be new to Dovetail, we are the #1 selected vendor by HR professionals for our HR service delivery platform, which offers HR case management, employee relations case management, employee portal, Dovetail HR Copilot, HR knowledge management, and reporting and analytics. I'm thrilled to announce that just 2 days ago at the HR Tech Show in Vegas, Dovetail was named the #1 HR service delivery platform by Sapient Insights Group for both user and vendor experience for the 4th year in a row. This recognition is especially meaningful because it's based on feedback from the customers who use these platforms daily. It's essentially the TripAdvisor or Yelp of HR systems, real feedback from real users. Now let's dive into Dovetail HR Copilot. HR Copilot is our cutting-edge AI tool designed to revolutionize HR interactions, whether you're an employee with a question, a manager looking for quick insights, or part of the HR team managing hundreds of cases. Dovetail HR Copilot is here to provide fast, accurate answers. The result? Your teams have more time to focus on high-value tasks, and your employees get the information they need instantly. In today's session, we'll be covering 3 main areas: the top 5 questions commonly asked by employees, managers, and HR teams, how AI-driven interactions can drastically reduce response times and free up your HR staff. I'll also be showing you real-world examples and scenarios that highlight the true power of HR Copilot in action and providing an example ROI as well. And then we'll round out with a Q&A session. By the end of this webinar, you'll have a clear understanding of how Dovetail HR Copilot can transform your organization by improving efficiency, reducing workload, and providing a better experience for everyone. So why should you care about this? So it's important in today's fast-paced work environment. The demand for quick, accurate information is higher than ever. Employees want answers immediately, managers need actionable insights, and HR teams are expected to deliver on all of this while juggling countless other tasks. Dovetail HR Copilot acts as the bridge between these needs, freeing up your time and enhancing the employee experience across the board. So let's get started. We have a lot to cover today. I'm sure you'll find value in each of these segments. Feel free to drop questions into the chat as we go along. And don't worry, if we don't get to all of your questions during the session, we'll be following up afterwards. Okay, so let's dive in and take a closer look at how Dovetail HR Copilot can answer these common employee, manager, and HR questions quickly and easily and accurately. First up, let's look at the top 5 employee questions. And there's also a bonus question we've added in there at number 6. I'm going to show you these in a demo. So rather than go through each of them like this, let's just head over and show them to you live. I'm going to show you them through the HR Copilot system in the Dovetail employee portal. But imagine that this HR Copilot system can also sit in your intranet, like SharePoint. I'm also going to show you some examples of where it can sit in MS Teams or Slack as well. So this first example here is a question that employees ask a lot: how much vacation time do I have left? And all of these scenarios I'm showing you are out of box with Dovetail HR Copilot as well. So the question an employee might ask: how much vacation time do I have left? And Copilot's going to look into that. We can connect to your HR system, whether it's Dayforce, whether it's Workday, SAP, Oracle. We can tap into that data and pull out in real time their vacation balance. Okay. And if you have any questions, as I said earlier, as we go through this, just jot them into chat. I'll look at them at the end. I'll cover as many as I can at the end, and then we'll also follow up as well. The second question here is, when is payday? Often a great question that new employees, new starters will ask, or if they move around the business and you have different pay cycles. So when is payday? And here, what we can actually do is you could create a prompt like this, where it answers a sort of one-off answer like this, or we can actually index your existing documentation. So if you've already got announcements about when payday is, then they're sitting on your intranet today. The power of Dovetail Copilot is it can actually index that content and then provide generative AI based on that content and provide an answer on the fly when someone asks that question. Here's another example now where someone's asking about their benefit details. Here we can actually hook in and say, you know, before I provide these details to you, I'm just going to send you a one-time password. Put that password in, then I can verify I'm providing these details to the right person. We can get from your HR system who the employee is, what their cell phone number is, and therefore we can text them in this scenario. So here I've been asked to put in a one-time password. I've entered that in, and now I'm presented with my medical plan details and so on. And this, again, this information comes from your HR system. Now, if you buy the full product suite from Dovetail, if you also purchase our HR case management system, we will set up a connection between your HR system, whether it's Oracle, Dayforce, Workday, etc. We'll connect with that with our Dovetail platform, and then all of this data is local to Dovetail Copilot. So we can either go directly to your HR system or we can get it local from the Dovetail platform. Okay, let's head over to the next common question that an employee would ask. And this is about employee verification letter. So today, if you've got employees reaching out to HR asking you this, commonly it can take anywhere from 2 to 5 days to get a response on this. Sometimes it's quicker, but on average across the globe, it's around 2 to 5 days. And that's time that the employee is waiting for this letter to be generated. And if you're asking for an employee verification letter, you're probably seeking out finance. Maybe you're looking to rent a new apartment, or you are looking to get a new car and you just need to get a loan and you need to prove your income. And so with the Dovetail system, you can actually generate this on the fly. So if you're using the Dovetail portal in conjunction with Dovetail HR Copilot, we can point someone at their employee verification letter like this, generate that document on the fly, and then they can print it out. If you already have a system that does this for you today, we can point them at that system instead. So it's important to note, you don't have to have the employee portal to make this happen. If you already have employee verification letters, we can send that person over to that system that you have today, and they can get on with their day basically and get what they're looking for. Next one here is, what are the company holidays for this year? I mean, I'm typically myself always questioning this throughout the year, trying to figure out what are the holidays coming up this year. You don't always remember this. And again, you can have us point it at your page where you've already got this information, and we can generate an answer on the fly. Or you could have it where you just create a prompt and an answer like this and just put the dates in. And then, of course, you can add additional details. I've got a couple of different links here that take me over to the different policies, so I can find out a bit more info. I can even look at my time off or book time off if you're using the Dovetail portal here as well. Then we're going to look at the bonus one. So imagine you've come to this page here and you're scrolling up and down and you're looking at all this content and you just need to know, am I eligible for parental leave? I've only been here 10 weeks, so am I eligible for this particular policy? So rather than looking up and down, trying to read the whole policy that could be incredibly long to read, and employees won't do it. So what will they do? They will phone you, they will email you, they'll contact you. Instead of that, they can ask Copilot. Copilot can scan this page that they're on and provide an answer on the fly directly about the question they have. And you can see here, it's even provided me the source. So at the top there, you can see the URL is also the same. Now, this content could be sitting on your intranet today. It could be sitting on, SharePoint, for example. We just need to know where it is. We can index it. We can then provide these answers on the fly, just as you saw here. Okay, finally, I'm just going to show you what does that experience look like if you're using MS Teams. It's the same if you're using Slack. I'm just going to show you MS Teams, and I'm not going to go through all of those examples one by one. I'm just going to show you that here's what I've done. I've asked MS Teams the question, and I've got the answer back. You'll notice on the left-hand side, Copilot is sitting there as a bot. So you can deploy this in your MS Teams infrastructure. An employee, a manager, or a HR individual can then go and click on the bot and then ask it questions. The bot itself can work out what permissions you have. What sort of data are you allowed to get access to? All of that is built into Dovetail HR Copilot. So here you can see the questions that I asked, and I've got the same responses. The really neat thing here is when you configure Dovetail Copilot, you don't have to create a configuration for Teams, one for SharePoint, one for the Dovetail employee portal, or one for Slack, for example. You just create a bot. You configure it with the content you want. You let it index your content, or you put content in, or you can get it indexing the Dovetail knowledge base. It can scrape sites and things like that. You can also give it particular FAQs that you want it to base its answers on. And once it has that data, you can then tell it which channels you want to support, whether that's Teams, the chat bot that I had up, in the portal, or whether it's Slack. You don't have to create a bot for all of those different areas. So it's a good time saver for that. Okay, let's head back to where we started here. So we've just demoed the sort of 6 scenarios that employees commonly ask HR. Now let's look at the top 5 questions managers are wanting to know, and often they reach out to HR to know this information. So again, let's go through each one of those, and feel free, as I said, to send us a question in chat, and we will answer those towards the end. First one here is, I'm a manager and I'd like to know the vacation balance for Adam. So first of all, it's going to check that I have access to do this. It's now going to ask me to confirm Adam's employee ID. Then it's going to look up Adam, confirm I am the manager for Adam Carlton, and it's going to give me their vacation allowance. So yes, you might have this data in your HR system today, and maybe your employees have manager self-service, but are all your managers using manager self-service? Do they know where to go and find this information? Can they be bothered to go click 5 or 10 clicks to go and get this information? Or do you want to just give it to them directly in MS Teams or on a SharePoint like this, or on a Dovetail portal like this example, in a web-based view, for example? So think about that as I'm going through these scenarios, how much easier it would be for your managers to find this information without having to contact you, how much easier it is for HR not having to deal with these routine, common questions coming in. You can just have these handed over to the manager and let them find the answers themselves. So in this example, I asked, what is Betty's next performance review? So it's come up confirming Betty with the employee ID there, and then giving me her last performance review date and her next performance review date. Very handy if you're in talks with Betty right now and you're looking at her goals and you want to check how much time she's got left. Again, this might be something that you have already with self-service, but this is just quicker access to it. You don't have to go in looking for this. One of the key features that I always think about with a chatbot is you can talk to it in natural English language. You can talk to it in foreign language actually as well. But you're asking it the question in your way. When you have to go look this up in a system from another vendor, you're having to learn their system, and it's not maybe that natural, or it have to be an intuitive system, right? With the conversational UI, you can ask it the way you're comfortable with and get the answers that you're looking for much quicker. Next one here is Adam. I want to know Adam's current salary. So, Adam reports to me. I am looking at potentially raising his salary. And so I'm going to check in on what his current salary is. I need to confirm Adam's employee ID just to make sure perhaps I have 2 different Adams in my group. And it will check that I am the manager for Adam as well. When I put that employee ID in, if an employee did this and they weren't the manager of Adam, it's not going to give them access to Adam's salary. So it's going to verify that the person requesting this information is the manager of Adam before it presents that info to me. Okay, and now we're looking at the 4th most common question here. I'm trying to get hold of Betty. What's Betty's contact number? So simple sort of question, looking for contact information for Betty. And again, going to get confirmation on the employee number to make sure it gives me the right info. Now, in this example, you don't have to have this verified as the manager. You could take that verification step out, and anybody using Copilot could quickly look up another employee's contact details, and you can determine what contact details should be shown. You could also include the employee ID, any additional data that you'd like to show, or you could limit it to just the phone number. Maybe it's the desk location or the office location they're based in. And maybe even you could put the manager name here as well if you wanted to. Okay, and then this last one here, sometimes you want to just know how long an employee has been working at your organization. And again, so I'm going to ask about Adam. It's going to ask me to confirm their employee ID. And then it's going to present me, once it's confirmed I am the manager for Adam, it's going to give me their current time in position. And then let's just have a look at those types of questions through MS Teams, how that would look. It's slightly different from a visual point of view, but it's the exact same answers that are coming up. It's the same logic. It's the same bot that's being asked the same question. So you're getting consistency with the answers as well. Okay. There's no chat, so I wonder if I haven't got chat turned on or something. Let's have a look. Um, oh, it's everyone's putting it in Q&A. That's perfect. Yeah, chat may be chat shows to say what I see. Sorry about that. Well, let's just keep it with the Q&A then. That may be the best place for it. And as you can see going on in the background here, the same sort of questions that I've asked that I showed through the Copilot UI on the web-based is the same answers coming out on the MS Teams. Let's head back over to the next part of this session here. We're going to look at the HR team questions. So these are common questions. If you're a HR person out there in the field, maybe you're a HR business partner, you also could be a HR administrator or generalist that just wants to use Copilot to help them with various questions. So I'm going to show you some examples of these now. And I'm going to do this in Teams instead of going into the Copilot UI. You can also use Teams Mobile. So you could do the same questions through Teams Mobile, the same way you do it on the desktop here. And I'm going to ask these questions. So first off, I just want to know the policy on vacation and sick leave. So there's a couple of different answers here. So it gives me the option which one I'm actually looking for. So I can pick, where is the vacation policy? And then it provides me the link. I can click on it and it's going to open up, take me straight in to the vacation policy. I can read it through. Could follow up and say, can you explain the vacation policy to me? And it will pull out those details. But in this example, it was more about just trying to find the vacation policy. Where do I find that? Next one here is a common one where maybe you have an employee that has a performance issue and the manager has reached out to their HR business partner and they've asked for assistance on how they can help them through that process. So this is generative AI now, and it's going to show me a job aid. So what we've done here is we've got a job aid already published on the portal. Dovetail HR Copilot has indexed that content. And then what it can do is on the fly, any questions about that policy or that article, it can provide those answers in what's called generative AI. It generates an answer on the fly. And so it's opened up here the manager and HR guide, and it's got all of the steps listed. But you'll notice in the MS Teams side of it, it was just giving me the highlights of the steps, and I could click on the source and actually look at the full content if I needed to. This next example here is I'm HR person. I want to look up the pay group for an employee. So again, what every step through this is checking that I have access to this content. It's not you can't log in as an employee and say, hey, I'd like to look up pay group for my friend. That's not. It's just going to say you don't have access to this type of data. So as a HR person, you can ask these questions. And here's an example. So, can you give me the pay group for an employee, please? Please, it first checks that I have access to it. It's checking your user permissions, access confirmed. Okay, give me the employee ID that you want to look up. And then I've put that in, and now it's given me Logan McMill's pay group. And I'll just put in one more employee here just to show you a different example. So again, put in the employee ID, and it's going to go check Adam's pay group here. This next one here is looking up a manager. So I'm interested to know who Adam's manager is. Again, I could go and click into the HR system if you've got this published, or maybe you've got an org chart somewhere, but it just takes time to do those things when I can just simply type in, hey, give me the manager details for an employee. The employee's ID is 21237. And here we go. Here's Adam's manager. It's Logan. So now let's look up Logan's manager. So Logan's manager, put her ID in. And this information that's coming up, it can actually, again, provide the employee IDs as well. I've just left those out and just provided the manager name, the email, and the phone number. And then the final one here for HR. HR often gets involved, obviously, when a manager wants to look at terminating an employee. And now this is where it gets really clever. If I'm a HR person in the US, there's different policies around the different states. If I were based in the UK, there's a completely different policy for terminating someone. You've got to go through a lot of different steps. So this is a generic termination example here, but you can create, you have your different policies for your different regions, and Copilot will know what region I'm asking the question about. So I'm a HR business partner for the UK region. It's going to give me the right steps for that process versus a US. Or it could first say, well, what's the employee you're looking to terminate? Check their region and then give me the policy that I need to follow for that. So in this example, it was really about, again, a generative AI looking at a job aid, providing an on-the-fly list of steps, an 8-step process there, and I could click on the source and actually see that information and read the whole policy. I could download it into a PDF, print it out if I needed to, for example. Okay, I'm going to do a bit about an ROI first, and then I'm going to come to the Q&A part. So if you have any more questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A section of the webinar. So let's look at an example ROI, 30,000 employees. And we're going to base that on a number of different things. So the first thing we're basing that on is the number of inquiries on average each employee makes per year. So for a 30,000 employee company, it's typically around about 3 inquiries per employee per year. This is just averages. And it's based on our research, how our customers use our platforms. All the questions coming into Dovetail customers are logged in a case management system. So we can sort of do some analysis on that. The other thing I can tell you is that anywhere under 5,000 employees, you're typically seeing about 8 inquiries per employee per year. And if you've got between 5 and 10,000 employees, you're looking at around about 6 inquiries per employee per year. So imagine now 30,000 employees, 3 inquiries per employee per year. It's about 90,000 inquiries. And if we could answer 15% of those questions for you, so that is the standard. 15% of those questions should be answered by the Dovetail HR Copilot. That's the minimum, basically. Gartner expects that to be at least 20%. We see much higher results than that. But let's just do the ROI based on 15% to be very conservative. Now you've got to take into account the time spent by employees and HR professionals. So the employee, before they've reached out to you and asked this question, they're going to have researched on the intranet, trying to find the answer. They've probably asked their work colleagues, had a chat about it, trying to find whatever their question is. When's payday? I mean, maybe that's a quick one that probably work colleagues can answer. But if you're remote, you may not have someone to ask. But they're going to do a bit of research on their own first. And then eventually they're going to reach out to you in HR. And that'll either be over phone or, maybe email, or maybe you've got a chat system already, or perhaps you've got a ticketing system they can go on. So they've got to submit that ticket. Then they've got to wait. They're going to chase you. They're going to follow up. They're going to wait for that answer. And if you don't have a HR help desk system, if they've sent you an email, they may not even know if you've received it unless you've got some sort of auto email response switched on. So that's the employee, having to work on the question themselves. And then you've got the HR person. Perhaps you've got to triage that question if it comes through. If you're using email and spreadsheets today, you already know the pain you're going through when all those questions come in. Someone's got to triage it. They've got to put it on a spreadsheet, and then they've got to find the right person to answer that question, all while the employee's waiting and chasing. And if you're using email and that person's chasing, you've probably got a second email with a second job now for someone else to look at. So it just compounds the issue. It's very inefficient if you're using spreadsheets, basically. And then also factor in that these basic questions that are coming in to HR, you've hired these HR professionals and they're highly educated. You really want them answering these basic questions, like where's the benefits policy, or what's my vacation allowance? How do I find an employee verification letter? I've even seen employees ask HR, what's my employee ID? And just put that into perspective now. You've hired these individuals, these HR people, and you're getting them to answer these types of questions. So that's 15% of their time wasted on questions that Copilot could automatically answer. And that's 15% of those questions that they're answering. They're not furthering their career in your organization by answering those questions. So really just think about that for a moment. You've hired these people to grow them as individuals, help them with their career, put them into, grow them into potential leaders. Are they really going to get there by answering where someone's benefits policy is or someone's vacation allowance? And I kind of liken it to sort of about 15, 20 years ago, IT had this where everyone had to ask them about resetting their password. So it's a bit like that. You're literally asking your HR people to sort of answer questions similar to resetting passwords, things like that. Very, very, very basic. So take all that into account. Take into account the salaries you're paying your generalists, the salaries on average you're paying your employees, and you're looking for a 30,000 employee company. You're looking at potential savings of around $800,000 per year. It equates to about 13 and a half hours of wasted time per year. If you want a personalized ROI, just reach out to us. We can do this very quickly. We can actually probably do it before we've even talked to you, because we can get these sort of figures through salary.com. We can see how many employees you have, and we've got calculations to work out roughly how many inquiries you'll get on average. So, but put it into the Q&A. If you want a personalized ROI, just mention it in there, and we'll reach out, or just contact us after this, and we'll help you with that. Okay, let's move to the Q&A. I will look at the questions that have come in. Okay. Okay. Okay, first question here was, how will the bot answer if there isn't an article to support, or the bot doesn't have an answer, like parental benefits, etc.? So there's a fallback mechanism. So the order of priority of answering a question, the first database, I guess you could call it, that Copilot will look at is if you've got any pre-built questions and answers. These are called AI intents. So it will first look to see if you've got any definitive yes, no type answers. If it finds that, it will serve that up. If it doesn't find that, well, if it finds more than one, it will serve up the 2 or 3 that it finds. If it doesn't find an answer there, it will then look at the large language model that it's indexed. And we can index multiple large language models. So you could point it at SharePoint and index that content. You could drag and drop PDFs, FAQs, Word docs, anything like policies. You can drop those into Copilot. You can point it at the Dovetail knowledge base. If you're a Dovetail customer, or if you want to be a Dovetail customer, we have a HR knowledge base where you can create answers, and it will index that content on a regular basis. And then finally, you can also point it at just websites and let it scrape that website. It could scrape your company website, or maybe you've got an internal website that has public access. It could scrape that website. And if it finds the answer, it will create an answer on the fly using generative AI. If it still doesn't find an answer, it will go to a fallback mechanism, and you control the messaging that you want to present there. It could say something like, hey, I don't know the answer to that. Do you want to try again? Or would you like someone in HR to contact or reach out to you and follow up? So that's the answer there. Also, next question. Also, for global employees, there may be multiple pages. So can the bot answer the question correctly by picking the country, region, specific page based on the employee's location? Yes. So you can. We have something called personas. So you, based on your personas that you have in your organization, and it can be on anything. It could be security groups. It could be where someone's based, on country. It could be what business entity they're in, what department they're in, what seniority they are, any number of factors. So we will figure out with you what that factor is. Then we're able to identify those individuals when they ask the question and serve up the right content that's relevant to them. Last one here. Well, there's a couple more. We currently don't have a HR system. How would we get started using a tool like Dovetail instead of investing in a HCM? So the Dovetail HR platform, you can create content in there, and then the Copilot system has access to that content. So the other thing you can do is, if you've got, if that question is from Angelique. So if you want to just it may be easier to reach out to you on this one. If you've got your HR data somewhere, like an Access system or a spreadsheet, we can likely hook into that as well. We'd have to sort of investigate that one a bit more, Angelique. But if you don't have something today, you maybe you've got a database internally of all your employees. We can connect into that. It's very fluid, our connectivity capabilities. We actually did a webinar that when we finish this webinar and we send you all the recording, I'll also include a link to the webinar we did in May, which is actually a deep dive, a sort of technical deep dive in everything I've shown you, how to do all the things I've shown you, how to do the large language models, how to do the workflows, the intents, how to connect to a third-party HCM system like Dayforce. That's all in a webinar we did in May. I'll include that in the link when we send this out. Question here, is HR Copilot capable of checking an employee's location and providing the appropriate leave policy based on that? Yes, that's very similar to a question that was asked earlier. It can, based on, typically it's based on persona, and based, or we can do it on the current region that they're based in, and you're able to serve up and provide the answer based on that. Nikita asked, how difficult let me start again. How difficult is it for the bot to learn and adapt by itself based on the intent provided? It's so interestingly and importantly, it's only going to be based on the content you provide it. So you sort of feed answers to the Copilot, whether that's through AI intent or whether that's via pointing it at content on SharePoint or websites, or drag dropping in PDFs, or pointing it at the Dovetail knowledge base. So it's going to index all of that and learn. You have the ability as an administrator to go in and tweak this. So if someone asks a particular question and it's not going to the policy, or it's not generating an answer based on your handbook, your employee handbook. Let's say you've got an employee handbook in California, for example, and you want it to go there. You can tweak it and put special rules in that, if someone asks this particular question, go to this area. And it would also adapt and learn based on the questions that are coming in on a day-by-day basis. Under the hood, it's using AWS Claude 3.5, I believe. And so this is a very advanced, a large language model that the Copilot system is built on. Next question here, how about articles of images and tables? Can it provide that info as well alongside its content? So it can provide tables. Not sure about images. We'll take that one and check on that one. But it can also, don't forget, it can redirect you over to the content as well. So I will check on if it can generate the table inside the chat or in MS Teams, and we will add that in the. We'll add all these questions and answers in the email that we send out, so everybody's got the answers we've said, and of course you'll have the recording as well. The question from Nikita, can the bot learn based on solutions we have in our HR system or based on files we feed? Yes, you can. And I show that in the May webinar that we'll put a link to. Actually, if you go on YouTube and search for Dovetail HR Copilot, you'll find that webinar. If you look in the description, you'll find all the, on the YouTube video, if you look in the description, you'll find all the, I don't know what you call them, like I've got the time slots. So, and you'll see all the different things I show, and it will show you when I'm indexing files, and you can click, so you don't have to watch the whole webinar. You can click and go straight to the individual part of the webinar that specifically discusses that. And like I say, we'll put that link to that YouTube video in the recording email that we send you after this webinar. Okay, I think that were all of the questions. Great questions. Love questions coming in. If there's any questions you have after this, please feel free to reach out to us. You can contact us on info@dovetailsoftware.com. You can go on our website and click on the demo button, and it will give you fill in a form, and it will someone will reach out basically and provide you a personalized demo as well. So with that being said, thanks again for joining today. Our next webinar will be on Thursday, October the 31st. That is Halloween. Can you believe it? So soon already. So don't be spooked. Make sure to join us for another insightful session. It's going to be a full demo of the whole Dovetail HR platform. So you'll see everything that we have on offer. There'll be a small piece on Copilot on there as well. There will be no tricks. They're just treats for everyone. With that, we will wrap up today's webinar, Maximizing Efficiency with Dovetail HR Copilot. I hope you found today's session helpful. Thank you for joining us today and for your engagement throughout. Great questions. If you have any additional questions or want to explore Dovetail more, feel free to reach out. We're here to help. Thanks again, and we look forward to working with you to unlock the full potential of Dovetail HR and seeing you next month. Take care, everyone.